Hey everyone, it's Woo Wednesday.
Ric Flair.
Woo! Wednesday! Yeah, baby! Woo! 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 Wednesday! Ha! Woo!
Thank you, Nature Boy. It's that time of day where we take a moment and pause and say thanks to everyone who's making the world run. Let's start with the men and women in the military, police officers, firefighters, doctors, nurses, lab technicians, hospital orderlies, small business owners, restaurateurs, truck drivers, everyone working at the grocery stores and fast food joints, the Port of Los Angeles, Long Beach, and Oakland, and Union Station, the pilots and flight attendants. Let's listen to the national anthem.
Giving you the day's headlines with the right context. It's the John Phillips Show.
And a very happy Wednesday to you at 12:07 in the West. It's the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wang's in Toronto, Canada.
John, we are broadcasting live on the radio on 790 KABC and 810 KSFO, and we're also broadcasting live worldwide on video. The YouTube channel where you can watch us, react to the show along with us, and play in the chat room is youtube.com/@ Randy Wang Radio. We're also on X at Johnny Don't Like, Facebook at KABC Radio and 810 KSFO, Twitch at Randy Wang Radio. You can watch us. There's also links at KABC.com or KSFO.com. Be a part of the show. You won't be productive at all for the next 3 hours, but you'll have a really good time.
800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. Well, you can file this next one under the category Bob Bonta Strikes Again.
Bob Bonta? How dare he?
Bob Bonta.
Bob Bonta, who is the Attorney General. Some know him as Rob Bonta, and some know him as the king of all cliches.
Every type of leadership is about meeting the moment and rising to the occasion, and this is what's required. And so we're stepping up and getting it done.
Bob Bonta is not only the top law enforcement official in the state of California, he has a very specific role when it comes to California elections. Through our direct democracy system, if an initiative gets enough signatures to make the ballot, it's the Attorney General's office that gets to decide how the title is worded when it makes the ballot. And this is where the Attorney General can really have a little fun and make things a little misleading, like when Kamala Harris was the Attorney General in 2014 for Prop 47, because most of the people voting for Prop 47 did not realize that it meant decriminalizing almost every aspect of crime, including shoplifting.
So think about it like this. If you're a Bob Bonta and you do not support an initiative, but you're given the ability to write the title and summary of that initiative for voters that will appear on their ballots, think about all the mischief you can have. It would be like if Pepsi was able to write the description for Coke in the supermarket. And instead of calling it Coke, they call it cancer juice that'll make you fat. Well, good luck moving that product if that's what you call it. If you have the ability to write the title and summary of the product, you have the ability to help it or kill it, and Bob Bonta is trying to kill it.
Bob Bonta.
Here's another example. Back in 2018, when the Attorney General was this idiot,
Scrub it.
Javier Becerra was tasked with writing the title and description for the Repeal the Gas Tax Initiative, which you think would be pretty straightforward. Repeal the gas tax that goes up every single year. This is something we voted on in 2018, but you might not know it because when it came to vote on this in November, it was titled, and I remember this, the Defund Roads and Bridges Act. And what do you know? The repeal of the gas tax did not pass. Well, Bob Bonta might be trying to play the same game with Prop 39, something that you all may know as the Voter ID Initiative in the state of California. To explain what exactly is going on here, here's a quick video on Twitter from Assemblyman David Tongipa in the Central Valley.
This is the most blatant form of cheating and rigging for the November election that we have ever seen. The Attorney General, Rob Bonta, has now changed the language on our voter ID initiative, Prop 39. It is going from voter ID and citizenship verification constitutional amendment to now say prohibits citizens from voting. This is insane.
And you know what's especially rich about this is that Bob Bonta and company, they consider themselves the defenders of democracy, that democracy will go away unless you elect people like him. And you look at what he's doing here, and he's trying to circumvent the democratic process. He's trying to make it purposely misleading. This is like in the old days when you'd have to take some sort of literacy test before you'd vote. The point was not to make sure that you know how to read and write. The point was to exclude blacks from voting. Well, the objective that Bob Bonta has here is not to fully explain what the initiative is. The objective is to trick you into voting against your own interests.
Listener Nathan in SoCal writes in, you need to use AI to put Bonta in a superhero costume and call him Captain Cliche. Might have to work on that tomorrow.
The highest law enforcement officer is now actively rigging the election in the middle of the election season. We've had this language approved for over a year, and just this week he has changed it. But I have no high hope.
What are they going to call the Save Prop 13 Act?
Oh, can you imagine?
Hopes for the guy who hangs out with the corrupt.
Hey, look who's there.
Shangy.
Shangy got a little shout out in the video from David Tongipa.
Absolutely, absolutely.
How do you feel about that, Shangy?
That's right. I like that. That was amazing.
Also, and this isn't really that important, but just based on that picture alone, Bob Bonta is one of those guys where when he puts on glasses, he ages about 70 years.
Yeah, he looks like he's about 94 there.
And why did his hair get so white all of a sudden?
Mayor from Oakland. And if it doesn't prove how corrupt to the
I don't know if he hung out with her, but they all hang out with the dong. So I guess he hung out with her by association via a dong.
The dong is the glue that keeps that group together.
All right, we should stop while we're ahead.
Or California truly is, from the governor's former chief of staff, the former...
Hey, Dana got a little shout out too.
He's playing all the classics.
Attorney General's former chief of staff convicted of corruption, to now the Attorney General meddling in the election. This proves that you need to get involved. If you want to fight for California, if you want a future for California, I need you to share this message. I need you to tell everybody just how bad it is here. You need to get involved with Prop 39. We need your support. We need so many people to show up because they believe you're not paying attention and it is so blatant in front of your face.
Well, it was just the World Cup. People had a lot of stuff going on.
Help us. Join us in this fight. Send us a message. Sign up. Share it to as many people as you know. And let us save California.
And Tongipa wasn't done there. This morning, he had an appearance on our sister station, KMJ in Fresno, on the Brodsky and Musan show. And he said this.
And now, which is what Rob Bonta sees, which is what Governor Newsom sees, is they must change the rules of the game in the middle of it in order to maintain power. So they are cheating fair and square because they have been empowered to do so. But it's what a lot of people just haven't realized is really what is going on. That's a big portion of what I'm working on is exposure and really sunlight. Sunlight is the best disinfectant. And I can tell you right now, it is a zombie horde in Sacramento of a mindset that they just don't respect the voter. They don't respect the people, and they think that they're just not paying attention.
Zombie horde.
More corruption from Sacramento. Part and parcel what we talk about every day, Randy.
I do have to warn you, Tongipa. The sunlight is the best disinfectant. That's a cliche, and we've heard it enough times.
So you have Bonta trying to rig the initiative process so that the voter ID initiative fails. At the same time that is going on, Gavin Newsom is lawyering up with a criminal defense attorney.
Gavin Newsom, in the investigation into him and his wife that he announced, he's the one that brought this attention to himself because, well, no one was paying attention to Gavin for a while. He's now got a lawyer, and apparently it was the same lawyer that represented Hunter Biden. Oh, boy. For more on this, here is KCRA 3 and Ashley Zavala.
I can't hear it.
You can't hear it?
No.
You couldn't hear that?
No, I can't.
All right. Well, let's figure out why you can't hear it. All right. Give me a second here. Let me play the sound. Okay. Let me restart this program real quick because I'm guessing what happened was because I played something off of Twitter instead of off of very reliable YouTube, we had a little issue. So I'm going to re-add the screen share. I have to talk out loud while I'm doing this so I don't get confused. And now we're going to scroll back down to the Ashley Zavala story, and we're going to hit play.
There we go.
Now you can hear it. Look at that. Tech support and co-hosting a show in the same time.
And I didn't even have to call the Philippines.
Gavin Newsom today confirming that he has hired a high-profile criminal defense attorney as the U.S. Department of Justice continues its investigation into him and his wife.
KCRA 3 political director Ashley Zavala spoke with the governor about this today. So, Ashley, what is he saying about all of this?
Andrea, it's been more than a month since the governor announced that the U.S. Department of Justice was targeting him and his wife.
I don't think they're doing this on purpose, but the file photo they have of Gavin, he looked tired. It's got the sleepies.
Now, neither he nor Jennifer Siebel Newsom have been subpoenaed yet, but we now know who they've hired to defend them if it comes to that. Their defense attorney is Abby Lowell, the governor confirmed to me today. Lowell is based in Washington, D.C., and has represented several political figures in high-profile cases, including recently Hunter Biden and New York Attorney General Letitia James.
Okay, she's probably not cheap.
Abby Lowell?
Yeah.
Abby Lowell's a guy.
Oh, he's not cheap.
No, he's the old man on the right.
Excuse me.
As we've been reporting,
I was listening to this story this morning while walking around Toronto. I didn't realize the guy I was staring at in the two different pictures was the guy. Excuse me. I misgendered Abby.
You never know. He could change sexes and run for the Senate in Maine, too.
sources have said the U.S. Department of Justice has been investigating a governor's office staff, and separately from that, Jennifer Siebel Newsom's nonprofit organizations. Here's my exchange with the governor today.
Have you been contacted by investigators yet for questioning you? Either you or the first partner?
Nope.
His hair got real white, too. What's going on? It's like they're really all stressed out about something.
It gets wider and bigger every time I see him.
Yeah.
No subpoenas? No subpoenas?
No.
Okay, thank you.
It's inevitable. Come on. I mean, who we're dealing with.
Again, the investigation started under the Biden Department of Justice from a California whistleblower out of a California office.
Now, we've actually been reaching out to Newsom's attorney, Abby Lowell, since July 9th for comment.
Who, to reiterate, is a guy. Just want to make sure we're all on the same page with that one.
We haven't heard back from him yet. The governor has said he thinks this investigation is politically motivated by President Donald Trump.
Some are claiming this started with the Biden administration. So what are people saying about that?
Yeah, that's a comment that we see constantly. The U.S. Department of Justice, though, isn't commenting on any of this. And we haven't heard any official or...
We wouldn't even know that this investigation was a thing except for Gavin blabbing about it.
Okay, if you haven't listened to the Accountability Podcast, you have to listen to it tonight because we talk about this very subject and we play the sound of the first partner, Jennifer Siebel Newsom, being asked that very question. You say this is a political witch hunt, but it started in the Biden administration. What's your response to that? And the needle went off the record. The answer is they have no response to it. It blows up their entire argument, but they're still sticking to it.
Accountability, accountability, accountability.
Person close to the investigation say that. Now, the investigation into Governor Newsom's ex-chief of staff, Dana Williamson, did start under the Biden administration, but Newsom has not been implicated in the crimes that she's been facing. Jennifer Siebel Newsom was asked on MS Now last week if it's true the investigation into her and the governor began with the Biden administration. She responded by saying she didn't have any details. She noted that, though, that her...
It got real awkward real quick.
Oh, you have to listen to this. And if you go to the Accountability Podcast on YouTube, you can not only hear it, but you can see it.
Her husband has been a target of President Donald Trump. Again, officials really aren't commenting on any of this. We'll see if the governor gets subpoenaed.
So there you go. That's the latest on Gavin Newsom lawyering up with a big name attorney that has represented Hunter Biden in the corruption probe, looking into him and the wifey.
And Randy, if people want to get that Accountability Podcast, how could they do it and subscribe?
They just go to youtube.com/@accountabilitypodcast. I just put a link in the chat. If you cannot find it, send us an email. We'll send you in the right direction. Don't watch it now, though, because we're doing the live show, but watch it at, 3 o'clock. We got nothing going on. Check it out.
It's the John Phillips Show.
No purchase necessary to enter or win. Sweepstakes open to U.S. residents only, except New York and Florida. 18 and older. Rent 11/126. Void where prohibited. For official rules, visit CarProSweeps.com. Sponsor Acuity Marketing, Inc. DBA CarPro.
Now is one of the best times to enter to win a 26 Corvette Stingray at CarPro.com. For a limited time, qualifying entry packages receive up to 30 times the entries. Win a brand new 2026 Corvette Stingray or $40,000 cash. This special launch promotion won't last long, so don't wait. Go to CarPro.com today and get entered. Now, let's talk more about CarPro.com. Listen to this 5-star review from listener Jerry from Westminster about her experience with CarPro.com in Honda World of Westminster. Quote, Ray and Sonny were the absolute best, and I can't even describe how much they treated me like I was important to them. Class acts, and I can't thank or appreciate them enough, end quote. For that same kind of VIP treatment and rockstar pricing, go to CarPro.com, or you can call or text message Tom Haynes directly at 818-435-6797. Go to CarPro.com today. It's the John Phillips Show. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, you can not only listen to us do the show on the radio, but you can watch us live on YouTube, and you can participate in the chat.
It's a whole new way to experience the John Phillips Show every single day from noon to 3. We now broadcast live on video, which means you get to see us, you get to watch the stories along with us and react with us. There's a chat room that you get to play along in. You get to see these ridiculous AI images I created during the breaks. We're having a lot of fun in here, so if you want to join us, we're here until 3, youtube.com/@RandyWangRadio. X at Johnny Don't Like, Facebook at KBC Radio, Facebook at 810 KSFO, Twitch at Randy Wang Radio. If you can't find any of those links, most of them are posted at KBC.com or KSFO.com. And if you still can't find it, send us an email. I will be your concierge and direct you to the right place.
In the meantime, what do you say we make a couple of listeners very happy?
Let me just double check that we're still giving this thing away, and we are. All right. 790 KABC welcomes Revolution with special guest Skip Marley at the Pacific Amphitheater at the OC Fair on Sunday, August 9th. Tickets are on sale now at packamp.com, but right now, caller number 9 at 1-888-795-2222 gets a pair of tickets to the show. All concert tickets include admission to the OC Fair. Tickets furnished by the Pacific Amphitheater. Good luck dialing.
Coming up later on in the program, as part of the Fix California Hour, our pal Julie Watts from CBS California Investigates joins us. You do not want to miss that. It's the John Phillips Show. You know, when people think about serious injuries, they usually think of broken bones, something obvious. But one of the most serious injuries people deal with after an accident is actually vision loss. After a car crash, a fall, or a head injury, your eyesight can change, sometimes right away, sometimes it takes weeks or months later. Blurry vision, double vision, headaches, trouble focusing, and a lot of times, the eyes look fine, but the brain isn't processing what it's seeing correctly. That kind of injury impacts everything, your work, your driving, your independence. And if someone else's negligence caused it, that's not just an inconvenience, it's a real long-term issue. That's why I trust and recommend Fielding Law. They don't just look at what's obvious. They understand brain and vision injuries and how deeply they impact your life. If you or someone you care about is dealing with vision problems after an accident, call Fielding Law at 833-88-SHARK or find them online at clarkthesharklaw.com. That's clarkthesharklaw.com. Fielding Law, kind people, serious lawyers. It's the John Phillips Show. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. Julie Watts joins us at the top of the hour. The federal government is getting increasingly frustrated with all the corruption going on in the state of California. And Randy, that has now led to a fight over Medicaid funding.
Specifically, Medi-Cal programs related to home health care, which Gavin Newsom says are very necessary, which the feds are saying, we don't know if this is legit or not. Let's find out what's going on here on the federal Medi-Cal freeze. Here is ABC 10 in Sacramento.
We start tonight with the Trump administration, who is once again withholding funds from California. This time, nearly $1 billion in federal Medicaid funding is being withheld over what the Trump administration...
That'll buy like 3 more missiles to shoot at Iran.
says is high risk of fraud, waste, and abuse. I want to bring in ABC 10's Jeannie Nguyen, who's here with us for what this means for the state and also how, of course, Governor Gavin Newsom is responding to this news.
Alex, California and Minnesota are the top 2 states impacted. The Trump administration says the states
need
to stop...
Well, wait a minute. That's where all the fraud is. When all of this first broke, it was in Minnesota with the Somalis and the daycare centers and the schools and all of that business. And then we learned about all the hospice facilities in the San Fernando Valley in one building in California. And then when the various states reacted to it, whether it was Tim Walz in Minnesota or Gavin Newsom in California, the reaction was that they were more upset at the people who were exposing the fraud than at the people who were committing the fraud.
Meanwhile, Governor Gavin Newsom says this is all political theater, risking those most vulnerable in the state.
If we suspect fraud, you will not receive.
Can he get a spokesman? I can't listen to that voice. Cheryl Hines, how do you do it?
Taxpayer dollars.
When he was running for president and they kicked him off Twitter, I wrote a column about it in the OC Register, and I think the editor took the line out of the column. I said after Twitter kicked him off their platform, they're trying to take what's left of his voice away from him.
John, I really shouldn't engage in this, but can you explain to the listening audience that's not watching right now, who's to the left of him?
I have no clue. Do you know who that is?
I don't know, but they kind of look like Jabba the Hutt.
I don't know. I've never seen that person before.
So you prove that those payments are legitimate.
California is
Picture of Health, RFK.
one of 2 states the Trump administration says is under review for possible Medicaid fraud. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. says the federal government is deferring about $867.5 million in Medicaid payments to California until the state
And I also want to add this. It's not directly related to Medicaid, but it is part of the overall conversation. And that is when the state of California had what, $20 or $30 billion stolen in EDD fraud? We have yet to pay the federal government back that money that is owed to them. Other states have. I think we're one of the only ones that hasn't paid the bill back yet. And
We
I
have
think
not.
What Gavin Newsom was anticipating was that Grampy Joe would be reelected and all the debt would be forgiven. Well, Donald Trump got elected, and the debt is not forgiven, and we have yet to pay back that bill.
It hangs over our head every single year, even as the budget gets bigger, even in those years where we had a $100 billion surplus, we weren't even trying to pay it back. So what happens is it ends up becoming a fee that every employer in the state of California has to pay to just deal with the interest on that debt. So great job, Gav.
It's documented.
Well,
He'll claim
if you're the federal government, you've probably had it up to your ears with fraud in California, and the fact that California's mess is now leading the federal government to have to try to find ways to make up for that money that they should have that they don't have.
showing the money was spent in compliance with federal requirements. Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services Administrator Dr. Mehmet Oz says the review is focused on California's spending for its in-home supportive services program during the past 2 fiscal years.
California's spending in these in-home programs went up 24%.
His hair got white too. What is going on when you get into politics?
I don't know. It's a stressful job.
The rest of the country's average is about 12%.
Do you think he misses when he was just on TV doing poop diagrams for ladies in their 50s?
Got paid better.
Attorney General Rob Bonta, along with 14 other attorneys general, sent this letter to the Trump administration, arguing that withholding this money would negatively impact those most vulnerable and smaller hospitals. Bonta says Medi-Cal, the state's version of Medicaid, covers more than 1/3 of the state's residents.
It's a statement that needs to be reiterated. The state of California, which likes to be touted by people like Gavin Newsom and Bobbert Bonta as the 4th largest economy in the world, 1/3 of its residents are so impoverished they are on the public assistance medical program, which, by the way, is better insurance than anyone else can get.
Well, and think about this for a moment. The position that Bob Bonta is taking is that if you don't give us the money to pay the fraudsters, we're not going to provide care for the people who actually need it too. It's like a hostage situation.
Congressman Ami Bera is concerned about the impacts to hospitals statewide.
It's going to affect all of our hospitals because when people lose their coverage, it doesn't mean they're going to stop having heart attacks or other healthcare conditions. They'll just go to the emergency room, which means it's going to impact our entire community because emergency rooms will get backed up. The community clinics won't be able to see those
Now, wait a
patients.
minute. This is another lie that they like to spread. Wasn't the whole point of Obamacare so that people wouldn't do that? That if you elect this one or vote for this one bill, that your emergency rooms will no longer be full. Well, have you talked to anyone who's been to an emergency room recently? A friend of mine not long ago had to go with 104-degree fever. And he said that this emergency room, which happened to be in Rancho Mirage, California, which is one of the most affluent zip codes in the entire state, at Eisenhower Hospital, very wealthy, very elderly population. He said that the room was so packed, there was no place to sit down, and he was one of 2 people who spoke English there. And it took hours to be seen.
Well, that's not surprising to anyone that watches The Pit.
Reimbursed for that care.
During a press conference on Tuesday, Governor Gavin Newsom accused the Trump administration of political theater.
By the way, yesterday he was at this fire press conference. Today, he has fled the state, and so has the lieutenant governor, and so has the state Senate pro tem. So Robert Rivas is the de facto governor today.
Good Lord.
Adding that the state had been actively working with the federal government to produce the documentation that they were requesting.
We've been working with them in good faith. They have issues with IHSS, and our issue is, why not IHSS? We believe in keeping
in-home healthcare services. Gavin likes to use acronyms, so you just stop paying attention to him because no one knows what he's talking about. I know what he's talking about.
people at home, dignity in place, is a way of not only helping community and families and seniors and those with disabilities, but also to save the taxpayers money. We have one of the lowest rates of growth in skilled nursing facilities.
Okay, go back to the hospice care fraud in the San Fernando Valley. After he trashed the people who broke the story, what did Gavin Newsom say? Oh, yeah, we were already on top of that. We knew about the fraud. We're working on it. There's no evidence of that. There was no documents or no evidence that they produced that proved that what he claimed was true. But he said, oh, yeah, we were taking care of that. There was no need for this report to come out at all, which is a complete lie, a complete fabrication. There's no truth to that at all. And you look at what he's saying here, he's acting as if, well, yeah, you know, we're on top of all the fraud. So if there was fraud, we would have found it by now. Who believes that?
And of course, this goes back to Gavin saying that we were working with them. Well, what takes so long to provide the documentation? How long are you supposed to have before you look at the lack of documentation we have with the homelessness grift, where we know something's going on here? Where you take organizations like LASA, funded by the LA County Board of Supervisors, funded by the state of California, that can't tell you where any of the money they spent went. So, how are we supposed to believe a damn thing they say?
And of course, he would claim that he's watching every dollar that he spends on homelessness like a hawk. Yet we spend more money and more people are living on the streets. Hell, even the professional sports teams in Oakland are homeless.
A spokesperson with the California Department of Healthcare Services tells us it's calling on CMS to stop threatening care for the state's most vulnerable residents, adding that California's approach to the in-home care system has been long approved by the federal government and saves state and federal taxpayers about $100,000 per person annually versus care at a nursing facility, Alex.
We got to be as transparent as possible with these programs because these are very essential jobs. If we don't have funding for in-home healthcare services, it means you're going to have to change your parents' diapers.
I have no problem paying for it if that's what the plan covers. However, I don't want to give it to the fraudsters. It would be like saying, well, what, you don't support hospice care? Like, no, I support hospice care, but I want it to go to actual hospice care and not people who are scamming the government. And Gavin Newsom doesn't seem to care that people are scamming the government. We learned that through the EDD fraud.
So that's the latest that we have right now on another fight between California and the federal government, this time over Medi-Cal fraud and Medi-Cal paperwork related to in-home healthcare services.
It's the John Phillips Show. It's the John Phillips Show. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. If you're watching us live on YouTube, make sure to hit that like button. That helps push the show out in front of as many eyeballs as possible. Julie Watts from CBS News California Investigates joins us at the top of the hour. Now, going back to Sacramento, California Governor Gavin Newsom is digging in his heels in a battle that he's involved with between him and state employees. State employees want to continue to work from home, and Gavin says empty storefronts in Sacramento are not good for my presidential ambitions. It's time for you to come back to the office so that the sandwich shops stay in business.
He literally cited the sandwich shop this time as he digs in his heels, even though there isn't enough office space for all the people he wants to come back. And this is true, for the Department of Education, they were forced to come back to a building infested with bed bugs.
That's so gross.
For more, here is ABC 10 in Sacramento.
Well, it has been almost 3 weeks since the return to office mandate took effect. The executive order requires most state employees to work in person at the office at least 4 days a week. ABC 10 State Matters political reporter Jenny Huh is here now with an update.
Well, state employees continue to push back on the mandate, saying their various departments and agencies were not and are not ready to accommodate office space and parking needs. I asked the governor about the lingering concerns and protests, and he provided perhaps the most in-depth answer yet. State workers continue to protest every week. They say it's not going well with parking, department space. So what is your reaction to how it...
Boy, he does that grunt all the time.
It's so funny because as governor, he very rarely crossed the unions. Whenever the unions wanted something, the answer was always yes. And now that the unions are becoming a problem for him and his presidential ambitions, he's treating them like they're an irritant.
It's going, who is it benefiting, and also, are you burning bridges with labor?
Come on, hey, look, I'm a little... I don't know if it's time of life or my state of mind.
Boy, he is a strange speaker.
How many grunts did we just hear out of his mouth?
7.
But I'm deeply mindful that...
Oh, we got one of those too. Bingo!
Boy, we're checking all the boxes.
You know, that we have a crisis, a lot of crisis in this country. One of them is crisis of loneliness.
Wait, he was just scratching himself. Did he get bed bugs?
Wait. He has turned this into some kind of Tony Robbins speech about loneliness?
Yes. Which, by the way, a lot of these state employees are going back into the office to go on Zoom meetings, but in the office. It's so stupid.
People not feeling connected. And I want people to come back to work, re-engage, rediscover, collaborate, coordinate, develop relationships, friendships, fall in love.
Wait, so he wants all the state employees to start boffing each other?
On the copy machine.
Oh boy, that's what we're missing. With Zoom, there's no office romance. And he knows something about office romance because at one point he had an affair with his campaign manager's wife.
He's also the a-hole that sent everyone home. He was the warden all during COVID when Florida was acting like nothing was wrong and other states were back to normal, and he forced everyone to work from home. Well, guess what? When you force people to work from home, you take them out of their office where they were perfectly happy and you put them in their homes. People adapt and they get comfortable. And if they're getting all of their stuff done, who cares where they are?
And all I'm asking for is you get 3-day weekends. You still do.
Well, no, you still have to work on that last day. You're just working from home. That's not a 3-day weekend.
You know, 4 years ago, that would have been a triumph. Now it's some burden. So respectfully, I have a different point of view.
Newsom repeating what he has long...
Him calling all of these union workers entitled and lazy is something that I would imagine they're going to remember for a very long period of time.
Between this and not having their back with the billionaires tax, the SEIU has a lot of reasons to start throwing daggers at pictures of Gavin Newsom on their boards.
How much do you want to bet in the Democratic primary in 2028 they all come out and endorse Kamala Harris or AOC or someone other than Gavin Newsom?
Long said about his reasons for the mandate: in-person interactions, relationships, and the revitalization of downtowns, helping that poor sandwich shop, as he put it.
It's not the employees' responsibility, including the employees that were hired post-COVID that only have done these jobs remotely, to keep the sandwich shop in business. That's on Sacramento, keeping the city and the downtown safe. That's how the sandwich shop stays in business.
And here's something to keep in mind, regardless of what you think about work from home, whether you support it, you're against it, whatever. This has nothing to do with the quality of output from state employees. And it has everything to do with Sacramento being a ghost town. And he does not want images of urban blight used against him in television ads when he runs for president. And if he forces people back to downtown Sacramento, where it looks busy, it looks like things are going on, you don't have a bunch of closed stores, you have a pulse, all of those things, it makes him look good. This is all about what the pictures are supposed to look like when he runs for president.
Newsom also said he doesn't think he's asking for much with this order and that it's not some great burden. And meantime, I'm hearing from many workers about increased spending on gas due to those longer commutes, struggles with pet and childcare, and some even considering leaving the state workforce. Another protest is planned for Wednesday. Chris?
Okay, Jenny, thank you.
So there you go, as Gavin Newsom continues his fight with the state workers' unions that do not want to be going back into the office 4 days a week.
And it's interesting because neither side is really backing down. The union is furious over this. Gavin appears not to be buckling at all. Now, he is the governor, he's the boss, so he has the final say. But hurt feelings can last a long time, Randy.
Well, and he's also only the boss for another 3 or 4 months. You think Baccaria is going to hold this up? Baccaria is a pushover.
All right. We have 2 more hours coming up on the John Phillips Show. Julie Watts from CBS California joins us next. She has a bombshell investigative report that's out about a deal, a no-bid deal here in California involving diapers for California babies that stinks. Those details up next.
Something's not right here.
Crime is up all over the state.
The homelessness in the city is out of control.
The economy is sick. Taxes are high.
Housing is expensive and businesses are leaving. California needs fixing. And John Phillips is just the man to lead the charge. It's the Fix California Hour with John Phillips and Randy Wang.
And we continue at 1:05 in the afternoon on the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wang's in Toronto, Canada.
John, we are broadcasting live on the radio on 790 KABC in Southern California, 810 KSFO in the Bay Area, and broadcasting live on video worldwide at youtube.com/@ Randy Wang Radio. We're also at X at Johnny Don't Like, Facebook at KBC Radio, Facebook at 810 KSFO, and Twitch at Randy Wang Radio. If you want to watch the show and you couldn't find any of that stuff, send us an email, johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. I'll be your concierge. I will get you right in where you need to be. We're here till 3 o'clock. Watch the show along with us. Play around in the chat room. It's going to be a good time.
800-222-5222 is the telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. It is our pleasure to welcome our next guest to the program. She is a 13-time Emmy Award-winning investigative correspondent for CBS News California, specializing in state capitol accountability and consumer investigations. You can watch her in Los Angeles on KCAL TV and in San Francisco on KPIX. You can follow her on X at Julie Watts TV. Julie Watts, welcome.
Hello, gentlemen. I'm guessing whoever gave you that intro got it from AI because it was not actually entirely correct.
Oh, is that so?
Checker. So if I'm fact checking the governor, I've got to fact check you guys as well. Sorry.
Go right ahead.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. Your ears must have been ringing yesterday because all over cable news you were referenced right and left, sometimes by name, sometimes not by name. Because yesterday, Katie Porter announced that she is getting out of politics for good, that you won't have Katie Porter to kick around anymore. And anytime they bring on the analyst to explain why, they go, well, the moment she lost her temper with that reporter in California, I said to myself, that's it for her.
You know, I've said this, I think, publicly a couple of times, certainly on panels, because as you might imagine, this comes up a lot. Folks ask me to talk about this. I will say that interview certainly, it inspired others to get in the race. It was a turning point in the race, but I do not think that you can credit that interview for the destruction of her campaign. I think that that was probably some very powerful folks inside the Democratic Party who didn't want her to be governor because they elevated that reporting. And think about this. If I had done that interview, let's just say with Gavin Newsom, and it had gone bad, I would have been vilified, right? But nobody vilified me. Well, a few people did. I did get some hate mail. But for the most part, publicly, folks didn't vilify me, which was a very clear indication that the Democratic Party was not rallying behind her.
No, and I'll tell you, I've seen some of her defenders. I've seen some of the people who ran her campaign explaining why she, I think, ended up with 4 or 5% when all the votes were counted. And the answer that they gave is sexism, that the temperament issue became the dominant issue in the campaign for them. And they believed that she was targeted because she was a female candidate. And I've got to tell you, the candidate that she reminded me of the most was actually a guy here in California. And I don't know if you remember him, but Kevin Shelley, whose dad was the mayor of San Francisco, Jack Shelley, became California Secretary of State. And he was the assemblyman from San Francisco. He was on the Board of Supervisors in San Francisco. And he was one of these guys who had the right name, came from the right political machine, had all the right contacts, and the sky was the limit. And when he became Secretary of State, he had a really nasty temper. And he had high turnover on his staff. And I think at one point he threw a telephone at someone, not the cell phones, the heavy ones that we used to have back in the old days. And it just got to a point to where there were enough stories out there about this guy exploding on people where that just became how voters knew him. And he actually had to resign as Secretary of State because the snowball just got so big. He couldn't defend his behavior anymore. He couldn't defend his actions, and his own staff was turning on him. And then that was it. I mean, a guy who could have been governor, a guy who could have gone to the highest levels of California politics, lost it all because he couldn't keep from losing his temper.
Yeah, I will say this, and you guys pointed it out on your show, that Tom Steyer, you did the Tom Steyer mansplaining episode, but Tom Steyer also had a few moments that I think if Katie Porter had said it, it would have been a bigger deal, but folks sort of dismissed it because it was Tom Steyer. So I think there might be a little bit of truth to the, she's a woman and women aren't supposed to behave that way. I also think it has a lot to do with the question that she didn't answer, which was, what do you say to the Trump voters who will be disenfranchised by the Prop 50, ballot measure? And that got picked up nationally by a lot of folks who were like, you should say something to these folks who'll be disenfranchised, right? So I think there's a lot of different elements, not just that personality. But I will say, the video that came out the next day that was leaked to Politico, my understanding based on some public reporting is that it came from a former staffer of hers. So, all that to say, there was a lot of things that worked together that ended us up where we are.
Well, now you're working on a new one that is excellent. We've spent a lot of time talking about it on this program, and it added something new to my vocabulary that I never thought would come out of my mouth, and that is Diapergate.
Diapergate, yes. It's a fun one, right? One of the great things about this investigation is that nobody died. There's nothing sad about it. And the money that we're talking about really is just, pennies compared to our entire budget, right? So, but what this investigation reveals is how things actually operate behind the scenes at the state capitol, which is my entire mission. My position at CBS California Investigates is to pull back the curtain and show, I always like to say, Mabel and Modesto, what's actually happening inside those closed doors. And this reveals it. And, really interestingly, when I started out on this investigation, it wasn't an investigation, it was a fact check, because Steve Hilton was saying that these diapers were going to be 50 cents a piece. But he was taking the total budget and dividing it by the first year's diaper count. And so I simply did a fact check to say, no, Steve, that's not entirely accurate. This is how much it's actually going to cost us. And oh, by the way, all the critics who are saying baby to baby and Newsom's friends are going to get rich off this, they were saying they were making 6-figure salaries. They weren't. So I was just simply doing a simple fact check, and I reached out to the governor's office and said, hey, can you give me a copy of the contract so we can just put it all out on the table and move on? And there weren't really any red flags with what I had found initially, except for the fact they wouldn't give me that contract. Had they given that to me 66 days ago, none of this would be public. I would have just moved on. But when they didn't, I started searching, and that's how we ended up where we are today.
Would they say you're not entitled to it, or were they just acting like, oh, well, the person who normally does it's on vacation, and this is going to take a long time, and bear with us?
Here's what I would say. You need to go read or watch the, I think I called it Diapergate Part 2, 66 Days and Counting. So the way that the Public Records Act works in California is legally they have 10 days to respond to say, yes, these are public records and disclosable, or no, they're not. And then they have to tell you when they will give you those records, right? What happens is they then almost always, as certainly state agencies will say, we need another 14 days because this is an unusual circumstance. That is also allowed under state law. They come back at the end of the 14 days and they say, we think we can give them to you by this date, but we're working on it. And so in this case, they gave me a date in the future, and then they extended that date again. And this is the way it always works. If they don't want to give you something, they'll just keep extending it. And legally, they don't have to provide the documents by a certain time. They just have to tell you when they'll give them to you. So in this case, after 66 days, I'm like, I'm done. Like, we're going to expose the fact that they're still holding on to these records. And then I happened upon the fact that it actually was listed as a no bid contract. And as soon as I reported that, within, later on that day, I got the records. And it's funny, some of these records actually were dated that day. In other words, emails had been forwarded on that day to fulfill the record request. Now, I will say, if you read our reporting, the state said they needed the time for their lawyers to go through these things. And, it was this, extensive process. And I don't know if you've seen my most recent post. I didn't put it on TV, but we just did a sort of follow-up. So we did the story. 6 hours later, I get an email at, after 5 o'clock on a Friday, this last Friday, saying, here are the records you requested. And then 30 minutes after that, I get an email from the governor's office saying, your reporting is demonstrably false. And they start listing all of these points that are wrong, allegedly wrong with our reporting. And so I spent all weekend digging through documents and responding point by point to each of their concerns, most of which we had reported anyway in our initial story, and linking the documents basically as breadcrumbs for anybody who would like to do a deep dive and investigate, because there's a lot of citizen sleuths out there. And so what I've done with this investigation is really give you all the documents and the databases where you can search for more. Needless to say, I haven't heard anything since we posted that story and sent the response back.
Well, and one of the things that you uncovered in all of this is how commonplace it is to have these no-bid contracts when we're under the assumption that it's a competitive bidding process for all kinds of different contracts that they have found ways around.
Yeah, and this is, to me, the most important point of the story. So in California, you're supposed to have competitive bids, and there is an outline process of what that means. And there's a scoring sheet, and you can see the scores, and they are required to give it to the lowest bidder, there's a handful of things, but there are requirements in there. So there are some exemptions for somebody, like only one company makes a product, or it's an emergency, or it's a state-to-state transaction, or state agency to state agency transaction. But none of those applied here. And so then I started looking in the Budget Act, and I realized that there was an exemption for this policy, and there are $1 billion worth of these exemptions in just this 2026 budget that was just passed. And what it does is it says this is exempt from the Department of General Services, the DGS oversight. So not only are they exempt from competitive bidding, but DGS, if it's a competitive contract, they have to upload it to a public database so we can search for anybody who got the exemption. It's not in that database. Nobody would know. Nobody will know that any of these contracts are no bid contracts unless you were to search for the program in the state budget, then try to go figure out who got that contract. And even then, it could take you months before they'll tell you who got the contract. And will we ever see those contracts? That's not clear either. So this is a really big exemption. And we're talking about funding for the governor's Prop 1. That was his big campaign. We're talking about suicide prevention, prison reentry programs, opioid crisis funds. These are all things that have been hot button issues that really don't have to go through competitive bidding and don't have to be disclosed. And so for me, the point of the story was not diapers. It was what this tiny little diaper contract revealed. And I really hope that the folks in Sacramento inside that building start looking at this and saying, listen, if we're going to do this, maybe we should have a rule that you have to automatically upload those no bid contracts, right? Because these exemptions are becoming more commonplace.
It seems as though the attitude in Sacramento is going in the opposite direction, though. Go back to the hospice care fraud in Los Angeles that was exposed in part from your organization, CBS News, that went national and went all over the place. The cable networks were all talking about it. The reaction from the governor's office was not anger at the people who were stealing the money. The reaction was anger at the people in the media who exposed the fraud. It seemed like that's who they were mad at. They weren't mad at the money being stolen. They were mad at being embarrassed by having that being reported.
Well, I think there's a distinction between the folks in the administration and the folks in the legislature. And we are seeing, keep in mind, we've got, I think it's a third of the legislature. It was new, this is their sophomore year, right? So first term, I am noticing anyway, folks who are more concerned about accountability than when I first started sort of covering this world. But you're right. I don't think the administration likes to look bad. I have a couple of investigations that I'm working on right now that also indicate that is a thing. But I'm going to kind of stay tight-lipped on where that's going. I will also say we have another part 4, hopefully the final Diapergate piece is going to be coming out. I'm hoping to publish today, and we'll get it on the air here soon. But it will reveal what was actually in the contracts and what was actually in the competitive bid records. And that I find really, as a mother, as a parent, very interesting. I'm going to leave you with that tease, and you'll know more when we release it later on, hopefully today.
So I'm going to be hitting that refresh button on YouTube all day long is what you're saying.
Well, this one might be on the website first before it's on YouTube, but yes.
What was the relationship between the first partner, Jennifer Siebel Newsom, and this group?
So, listen, I think to be fair, we need to go back and say Baby to Baby is absolutely, by all accounts, a reputable nonprofit in terms of Charity Navigator, in terms of how much they pay themselves. They get a ton of money. I mean, this contract is a drop in the bucket compared to, I think it was, don't quote me on this, but I think it was like 70 million a year that they're bringing in from donations, celebrity donations, and they do a lot of good. So I want that to be very clear. This is never an investigation into Baby to Baby. The relation and the Newsoms, there's been a lot of people talk saying, oh, this is corruption and the Newsoms are profiting off of this. Baby to Baby is not even, well, for the most part, profiting off of this. This was a sort of cost. We're paying for the cost for you to do this program. Jennifer Siebel Newsom, one of the CEOs, sits on the board of the First Partners Project, which is a nonprofit. And listen, this is a very prominent, high-profile nonprofit that focuses on women and children. And so it is not surprising to me that this woman, like, I don't know, chicken and egg, if they were friends before. I know that they've had donations going back to, Newsom campaigns for years, but nothing that raises any red flags. So it's not clear to me whether she's on the board because of a relationship with Jennifer Siebel Newsom, or if that relationship became because she was on the board. So I do want to my investigation was never into that. And I want to make that clear. My investigation is to what this Diapergate contract reveals, that somebody got a contract without a competitive bid. It was not transparent. And I think that when we release part 4, you're going to understand that there are really concerns with how Baby to Baby was selected. That's not to say that they aren't a good nonprofit or can't do this well.
Last question before you go. We've been following another story involving the California Department of Motor Vehicles and allegations that there was cheating going on when people were taking their tests. And there are members of the legislature who you mentioned are more interested in finding corruption and making sure everything is kosher than the executive branch. And you have the committee chairman who looks after the DMV and is supposed to hold them accountable, who is very interested in getting to the bottom of this. And the DMV seems to be stonewalling him, and he's not happy with how responsive the DMV is to his requests, and other members of his committee apparently feel the same way. It seems as if, in many cases, in a world where term limits dominate, the bureaucracy looks at it like, we're going to be here forever, and you're going to term out. If we don't like the questions you're asking, we'll just wait you out. Do you get the impression that they do the same thing with you at times, where they know that you have deadlines, they know that you have newscasts that you have to appear on, and bosses that want to see productivity, and if they just make it as big of a pill as possible, maybe they hope that you move on to something else and you just give up on whatever it is that you're digging?
I think they do that with everyone, with all journalists. The beauty of the role that we created, that CBS created for me, is that I don't have to give up. I have more investigations than I can handle right now, but I'm going to be there. And I can't tell you how often somebody's communications person says, yeah, we're going to decline that interview. And then I say, okay, well, I know they're going to be in a hearing, and so I'm just going to hang out outside the hearing. They look much better if they're sitting down in a well-lit interview situation versus me chasing them down the hall. And I will say, some people call this ambush reporting. We have a rule, and most investigative reporters have a rule. You do not ambush people. If you're going to do an unscheduled interview, it's only after several requests, documented requests for a sit-down interview. But if you're not going to answer the questions, we're going to get the answers. And frankly, sometimes they look much worse when they don't want to talk. So yes, I do think that they try to make us, they think that we'll go away. And for the type of accountability reporting that I have been tasked with, it frankly gives me another story to do if they don't want to talk, or if they don't want to give me the documents, because to me that says, okay, there's some there. Because if there wasn't, you would have given them to me 66 days ago.
Julie Watts, CBS News, California. Excellent reporter. You can follow her on X at Julie Watts TV. The final installment of Diapergate coming up. We'll make sure to push it on social media when it's out. Julie, thanks so much for stopping by.
Thanks, guys.
It's the John Phillips Show.
Car accidents happen constantly. If you happen to get hurt in one, you got to call my friend Clark Fielding and the Jaws of Justice at Fielding Law at 833-88-SHARK. That's 833-887-4275, 833-88-SHARK. Even a minor accident can lead to a major long-term injury. So don't go at this alone. Get the Jaws of Justice on your side, helping you out with your case, just like Clark Fielding has done for our listeners for 8 years. That's how long I've been talking about Clark Fielding, and that is because Clark Fielding believes in us and we believe in Clark. 833-88-SHARK, 833-887-4275. If you're hurt in any kind of accident, get a free consultation, find out if you have a case. 833-88-SHARK, and go to the website clarkthesharklaw.com. That's where you can download the accident preparation guide, a handy little thing that you put in your glove box, tells you exactly what to do at the scene of the accident. I have one in my glove box. Get it for free at clarkthesharklaw.com.
Hurt in an accident? Bite back. Call Clark. 833-88-SHARK. clarkthesharklaw.com.
It's the John Phillips Show. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. The chat room on YouTube is on fire right now. If you're watching us live on YouTube, make sure to hit that like button. We want to get that number as high as humanly possible.
And we have a question on the chat. Dave wants to know, how did Woo Wednesday start? I think we just saw this clip of Ric Flair and we thought it was funny and said we should play that every Wednesday.
It's Woo Wednesday.
I don't think there was any more thought in it than that.
Fix California Hour continues in moments. Don't you go anywhere.
So, listener Tony is spending the week in Santa Fe, and we've been spending emails back and forth with each other, and I'm so jealous of him right now. But we're in a little bit of a feud because you might know that my favorite restaurant in Santa Fe is The Shed and has been for over a decade. And Tony loves The Shed, but he says he loves their sister restaurant, La Choza, even more. La Choza is also excellent. It's actually where I asked my in-laws for my wife's hand in marriage when she was out in the bathroom. The difference between La Choza and The Shed is that La Choza has sopapillas and The Shed has garlic bread. And if you love sopapillas, you can get them at La Choza. You can get them at Plaza Cafe. But a little secret between you and me, the best ones are at Cafe Atrisco in the Don de Vargas Center. It's never been easier to get to Santa Fe. There's a daily direct flight from LAX to the Santa Fe airport on American. Go to Santa Fe.
It's the John Phillips Show. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, you're monitoring the mailbag.
Listener Mitch in Camarillo has been hard at work in the AI mines for the last hour, and he has emailed us. Somebody in the chat last hour said that we should make an AI version of California Attorney General Bob Bonta as Captain Cliche, and it looks like I don't even have to do it because Mitch did it, and it is fantastic.
We're focused on the work. We are sleeves rolled up, heads down, arms extended in partnership, arms locked together to collaborate, to deliver.
Captain Cliche, the superhero nobody wanted.
I'd see that movie at the Cineplex. I'd even buy the $16 Dr. Pepper. And Randy, earlier today, the newest edition of the Accountability Podcast dropped.
The Accountability Podcast with John Phillips and Randy Wang.
Accountability.
Covers the thing we just talked about with Julie Watts, Diapergate. We go into that story as well as Jen Newsom's bizarre interview on MS Now with Stephanie Rule. We get into all the investigations with Gavin Newsom. Make sure that as soon as we sign off at 3 o'clock, if you haven't watched it yet, check it out. YouTube.com/@accountability podcast. I'm going to put a link in the chat right now so you can click on it. You can subscribe. Let's check that subscriber count. We're trying to get up to 2,500 subscribers for the Accountability Podcast, and we're at 1,429. Once we get to 2,500, the John Phillips Show soundboard will be yours, and it will be free, and you will be able to use it for At least a year. I will see if I want to keep paying for it after that.
Right now, it's time to open up the California crime blotter.
It's happened yet again.
I see. Time for the California Crime Blotter.
And Randy, the first edition takes us to Pasadena,
where in the middle of a heat wave, copper wire thieves are ripping out all the copper in the AC units, disabling them.
Great.
It's like the flooded Oakland DMV over and over and over again. For more, here's Fox 11 in Los Angeles.
Small businesses are feeling the heat after thieves rip apart their air conditioning units and steal the copper inside. As Fox 11's Gina Silva reports, in some shops, temperatures are climbing as high as 90 degrees.
How much money could they be getting from every one of those units? Like $20, $30? And you're talking about thousands of dollars of damage and having to rebuild these entire units.
It's going to be sweaty in Pasadena.
We're a small business, independently owned, and to think that somebody can just come in and do something like this, it's terrible.
Small businesses,
you know
like
what? I like her glasses, but why didn't she go for the big ones?
Pasadena Animal Hospital are sweltering in the middle of a heat wave after copper thieves ripped apart their...
Okay, this is getting extra cruel. They stole the air conditioning unit from a veterinary hospital?
Well, maybe they thought that they specialize in reptiles because they're cold-blooded.
Air conditioning units to steal the copper inside.
And I'm sure whatever measly money they got from the scraps is already spent and done, and we're still here with the after effects.
Security cameras captured the thieves jumping over a block wall while another man on a bicycle lingered in the alley. Moments later, the suspects climbed back over the wall carrying something with them before taking off.
Yeah, it's absolutely not fair.
The heat, it's like it's on you directly, but we're still trying to provide customer service. I'm sweating profusely.
The same thing happened at Sweet Red Peach, a popular Pasadena bakery. Thieves climbed on.
You know what sounds real good in July? Hot cake.
You know, I recently went out to a restaurant for breakfast, and I walked in and I saw a million fans all over the place that were all on. And I walk up to the hostess and I go, "Is your AC out?" And she goes, "Yeah, but we have many, many, many fans." And she goes, how many can I put you down for?" I said 0, and I turned around and walked out.
To the roof, tore apart the air conditioning unit, stole the copper inside, and left the owners with an expensive repair bill.
And then we discovered that we're one of the 5th or 6th locations that this has happened to.
Now, with no air conditioning, temperatures inside the bakery have climbed to around 90 degrees.
Oh, no, 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 no.
The bakery's as hot as the oven.
The whipped cream's going to start curdling.
Employees are doing their best to keep things running, and even customers are feeling the heat.
It's horrible. It's hot. It feels so hot. It's just as hot in here as it is outside. So it's very uncomfortable, but yet the faithful employees of this business are still here working, serving us.
This is the most damaging crime for the littlest reward possible. And the only way we're going to crack down on this, outside of, arresting the people stealing this, is actually shutting down the smelters and the junkers that are buying the stolen goods that apparently are untouchable in the state of California.
Well, that's how you fix this. What you do, because the crackheads are going to do what the crackheads are going to do, and you have no control over them because you refuse to put them in prison. So set that aside for a moment. All of the scrap yards rely on business licenses from the state of California to be operational. You can lean on them. You can go to them and say, "Listen, if we hear that you're accepting any copper wire from any crackheads, we're going to shut you down lickety-split." But for whatever reason, they refuse to do that.
Chris writes in, "Is this just an HVAC company looking for business? I don't think that's what this is."
No, it's crackheads looking for things that they can get drug money with.
And honestly, this time of year, HVAC companies are way too busy to begin with.
So it's really sad.
All of the businesses targeted by copper thieves were hit within the past 2 months. The most recent theft happened just last Tuesday. In every case, the air conditioning units that were damaged were located on the roof.
Once they start, they think they can keep on going.
Pasadena Public Information Officer Lisa Derderian says business owners should remove or secure anything that could give thieves access to the roof, making it harder for them to reach air conditioning units.
Yeah, but wouldn't that violate some kind of fire code?
Yeah, and if you make it harder for the crackheads to get there, you make it harder for the people who need to be up there.
They could be stacking up boxes that are left there. There can be ladders that are not secure. There can be picnic tables or cars, anything they can climb to gain access to the rooftop.
You're hurting so many people, including yourself, including your own family, by hurting small.
If we're going to harden our places, maybe we start with electrifying the wall around the air conditioning unit.
Oh, they'd sue you in a heartbeat.
Businesses. We're one community. Let's stick together and help one another.
This poor lady, you can see the sweat coming out of her face.
Oh, I'm getting hot just watching her.
Out instead of taking from one another.
Gina Silva, Fox 11 News.
So there you go. More copper wire destruction in the state of California, this time in Pasadena. It does remind me of that DMV in Oakland where they ripped out the AC, they ripped out the copper wire, and the building flooded and it was closed for like 6 months.
All right, Randy, it's time to reopen the California Crime Blotter.
If the cashier is dummy.
We couldn't make this stuff up if we tried.
I said, hell no, baby boy. Let me get up on out of here.
It's the California Crime Blotter.
And this edition takes us up north to the city of Hayward,
where a smash and grab happened at a cell phone repair shop. And guess what? It's not the first time.
It's happened yet again.
For more, here is Cron 4.
And surveillance video captures armed thieves breaking into a Hayward phone repair shop and taking off with hundreds of dollars worth of merchandise.
And the owner of this store has only been open since April, and this is now the second time it's been hit. Crown 4's Sarah Stinson has the story.
Wait a second. April, May, June, July. 2 break-ins in 4 months.
Hey, give it time. They could get a hat trick.
The owner and manager here at Mr. Phone Repair are still reeling from the smash and grab and counting inventory to see just how much was stolen.
My goodness.
It always sounds like an explosion.
And this is old school. While if you're listening, that sounds like a Kia, it's a good old-fashioned crowbar. Probably stolen from Home Depot.
Security video captures masked thieves using a crowbar to break through the front window of Mr. Phone Repair in Hayward.
They're so violent with it.
Going Barry Bonds on it.
After several attempts, they break through the glass and head straight for high-priced items like gaming consoles, iPhones, speakers, and other merchandise.
Smashed, they broke the glass, they broke the showcase, coming here stealing in, they stole the big...
I do like the logo for his business. Little phone with a mustache. This poor guy.
Speaker, they stole a bunch of stuff, clothing.
Manager Sammy Sabon says the store has only been open since April, but this is already the second time it's been hit.
I feel like we're getting targeted, to be honest with you.
The latest
You know, I'm not used to going into one of these shops, but is it common for you to go to a cell phone repair shop and they're also selling energy drinks?
Yeah, that seems like an odd combination.
smash and grab happened early Friday morning just after 3:15 at the store in Gateway Plaza. At one point, one of the thieves appears to be holding a gun as he runs toward the back of the store. Sabon says that's the room where the owner sometimes sleeps while working overnight phone repairs. This time, he wasn't there.
Wait, an overnight phone repair job?
So wait a minute. So they were fully prepared to kill him.
Apparently, over some iPhones? And what, a PS5?
Just heartbreaking because he was about to sleep that day. And who knows, if he go out, he was on the trigger ready.
Another suspect is seen filling a box with merchandise before the group takes off. When the owner and Sabon arrived later that morning, they found shattered glass scattered across the floor and empty showcases.
It's just upsetting. It's a sad world we live in, that we have to come next day, open up, and we see the business broken into pieces.
Hayward police say the investigation is still in its early stages and no arrests have been made.
Well, we knew that was coming.
In the old days, you used to go to prison for a long time for doing something like this.
You have to get caught first. And when it comes to burglaries, whether it's commercial burglaries or home burglaries, right now, these guys have like an 85% success rate of not getting caught.
Despite another setback, Sabon says they have no plans to close their doors.
God willing, if they catch them or not, but hopefully.
Okay, again, not an important part of the story. But there is nothing to me more crass than a phone case that says Louis Vuitton. If you have a phone case that says Gucci or Louis Vuitton, you've got issues.
New money.
Their doors.
God willing, if they catch them or not, but hopefully we will still keep going positive no matter what. We got to keep going stronger than ever.
The owner has already replaced the massive window that was shattered, saying
By
it's
the
just
way,
one.
You mentioned the logo of the guy, the phone with the mustache on it. And I thought to myself, yeah, it kind of does look like a can of Pringles. Go back to the logo. There are Pringles in the logo.
Well, we don't want this guy to get sued over copyright infringement, so we won't highlight this too long, but that's pretty good.
Stronger than ever.
The owner has already replaced the massive window that was shattered, saying it's just one added cost to this theft. Meanwhile, next door at Ohana Hawaiian Barbecue, one of its doors is covered in this plywood. Employees telling me off camera they left it up after a break-in that happened earlier this year.
Boy, it's rough in that shopping center.
Well, this is what I don't understand. When these things are happening over and over and over again, why don't more businesses just say, screw it, we're going to stick with the wood because every time we put up glass, it's going to get broken again.
Hayward, that's where the rock is from, isn't it?
They say these overnight thefts are a growing concern in this shopping center. I'm Sarah Stinson reporting in Hayward. Back to you.
So there you go. The smash and grab at Mr. Phone in Hayward.
And if you don't want to get robbed, I'm not going to blame the victim here, because had that guy been there and been in the back office, he could have been shot and killed. But don't make your logo a cell phone that looks like the Pringles man if he was in a street gang. You put that logo up and people make certain assumptions about what other businesses you might have going on out of that location, and you make yourself a target.
Just a little advice from the John Phillips Show.
It's the John Phillips Show. It's the John Phillips Show. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. If you're watching us live on YouTube, make sure to hit that like button. We're at 141 likes. We want to get that number as high as humanly possible. So please hit that button if you haven't done it already. All right, it's time to reopen the California Crime Blotter.
It's happened yet again.
It's Wild Wild West out here. It's the California Crime Blotter with John
And Randy.
And Randy, this one involves Facebook Marketplace.
One thing that you can take away from this show, nothing good ever happens on Facebook Marketplace. I should know. You should have seen all the scam messages I got when I tried to sell my rowing machine and then decided to just donate it to the LAFD. For more, here is Fox 5 in San Diego.
Warning tonight from a man who says he got swindled while trying to sell one of his old belongings on Facebook Marketplace.
That man telling Fox 5 that it seemed like a normal transaction. He even got a confirmation of payment. But when it was all over, he realized he was only paid a penny. Our Juliet Vara spoke with him and joins us live in Kearney Mesa with the warning and his story.
Hi, Andrew. Yeah, so the victim in this case is speaking out because he doesn't want anyone else to be a victim. And he says that really it's so important to be extra careful. The Better Business Bureau also saying that it's so important to be vigilant so that you're not a target.
In the world of online business, you can find anything and anyone. Buy, sell, you name it. Fritz Petitwood considers himself pretty savvy, but says he is now the victim of being ripped off and scammed by a con man he engaged on the popular Facebook Marketplace.
And this is the first time that I've dealt something not very pleasant.
Fritz used Facebook Marketplace to sell an LED light. After numerous conversations with a buyer and an agreed amount of $45, the two...
Why are you even wasting your time to sell something for $40?
Risking your life for that amount of money.
Come on.
Decided to meet in a public parking lot. Fritz's car even captured video, which we've blurred for now, of the two meeting.
He asked me if it could take Zelle, which, my gut feeling was saying I should
Wait, for a $45 payment, he asked if he could wire you the money?
By the way, it looked like a drug deal.
Little bit. By the way, if you're going to do one of these things, do it in front of the sheriff's station. They actually have a parking space ready for you.
I should just said cash because it wasn't that much.
Going against his intuition, Fritz agreed to receiving a Zelle payment. A few seconds later, he got this text message that confirmed a $45 payment was sent to him.
And I said, okay, legitimate. I walked into my car, grabbed the item, and then handed it to the gentleman. And he said, thank you. And he took off immediately while I was still waiting for a transaction to show up on my account.
A couple minutes later, though, he still didn't see a deposit into his bank account and instead got a new notification from Zelle showing a new amount of only 1 cent was deposited.
That's one hell of a discount.
This is better than Black Friday.
Fritz knew he'd been duped, especially when attempts to reach the guy failed.
He immediately blocked me or got
also,
rid of.
Look at this from the other side. You're going to scam a guy and risk yourself and screw up all this stuff with Zelle over a $45 light?
Loser.
Of his account.
Corey Snyder with the Better Business Bureau says it's unclear how the scammer pulled this off, but says he's not surprised because creative con artists tend to find a way.
There's always loopholes that people find or workarounds. If you're not on top of it all the time, you don't know about it. And most legitimate people who are doing, just using the platform as intended don't know about these workarounds.
So his expert advice, always use a credit card when you can. It has the best fraud protection and tracking. Or only exchange.
Yeah, Amex won't even judge you when you tell them you got scammed.
Why are they blurring out the crook's face? Wouldn't you want to put his face out there so people know not to do business with him?
I think they wait until he's actually been charged with a crime.
He's not going to be charged with anything. All right, we've got one more hour coming up on the John Phillips Show. Don't you go anywhere.
speaking up in all caps. For those that don the red caps, it's the John Phillips Show.
And we continue at 2:05 in the afternoon on the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wang's in Toronto, Canada.
John, we are broadcasting live on the radio on 790 KABC and 810 KSFO, but we're also broadcasting live on video at youtube.com/@Randy Wang Radio. We're also at X at Johnny Don't Like, Facebook at KABC Radio, Facebook at 810 KSFO, and Twitch at Randy Wang Radio. If you can't find any of those links, they're right there at KABC.com or KSFO.com, or email us and we'll get them right to you. We're hanging out. We've got a lively chat room. We're here until 3 o'clock, and another way that you can participate in the show is what a few of our listeners have been doing today. Earlier in the show, one of our listeners said that we should put together an AI picture of California Attorney General Bob Bonta as a superhero known as Captain Cliche.
Bob Bonta.
We showed you Mitch's entry into the Captain Cliche. Now I'd like to show you listener David's Captain Cliche.
Okay, so this edition looks more like one of the superheroes you see on Hollywood Boulevard who has a meth problem.
Just a little bit. Captain Cliche is here to save the day. Hey, that rhymed.
Every type of leadership is about meeting the moment and rising to the occasion, and this is what's required. And so we're stepping up and getting it done.
So if whatever we're talking about on the show, you want to have some fun and you want to send us an AI image about something that we're talking about, it might make it to the live stream. You can always email us at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com.
I love that they gave him a cardboard shield and a mangy mutt. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. Well, earlier today in Boyle Heights, Republican candidate for governor Steve Hilton, along with Republican candidate for lieutenant governor Gloria Romero, had a big event criticizing the government's response to the environmental disaster that is going on in that community. I've heard from a number of people who were at that event, and they said the smell is so bad they can't even describe it accurately.
You can smell it right here.
That's right, everyone. It's time for yet another segment of You Can Smell It Right Here, our unfortunately nearly daily segment updating you on the trials and tribulations of the poor residents of Boyle Heights who are still living in the middle of this environmental disaster.
It's like living in a community that's located at the bottom of a trash can that hasn't been taken out for weeks.
For more on this, we go to CBS in Los Angeles.
The company at the center of the Boyle Heights warehouse fire submitted its plan tonight to end the stench of rotting food. For more than a month now.
What can they do? I mean, sure, we could start sending in the helicopters and carry this stuff out way quicker, but they're sending in truckloads 24/7. There's just so much rotting food all at the same time. There's not much else they can do unless, what if they just take some blowtorches and start that fire up again and then it's all cooked?
Yeah, I was about to say they could strike a match, but that's what got us into this problem in the first place.
Residents have been living with the sickening smell. Our Hunter Soward spent the evening in that community tonight.
You can imagine how frustrating it is for those community members who still don't know what that plan entails or if it's even going to work. You can see behind me here
that mask was so big it looked like she was wearing undies on her face.
I know. I was about to say it looks like part of a bra.
Heavy machinery is trying to get all of that debris cleared. People in the area, though, that I talked.
We are once again nowhere close to hitting Karen Bass's nonsensical 45-day goal where all this is going to get cleared out by mid-August.
Not going to happen.
Talked to today said it really just comes down to truth and transparency. 34 days into the Lineage fire fallout.
I'm tired of it, you know. It's just sickening.
Frustrated?
because we don't.
This poor guy gets interviewed on every channel. He's the mechanic.
That was the guy who was dry heaving, who also had all of the cars that were towed.
Yes. It's been insult to injury to insult to injury every day for this poor guy.
We're not finished with this now. The flies.
Work is moving forward, but
Talk about a guy who just can't catch a break.
anger is growing as Lineage meets a midnight deadline to submit plans to South Coast Air Quality, detailing additional odor control measures.
That stuff's not working.
Look at that. They're pumping out scent out into the community, but it's outdoors.
They should really contact the people at Wetzel's Pretzels, because whatever they do to waft out that smell in the mall, it is very effective.
Smell it right now. It started blowing right now. It is.
Okay, we got another one here. Wait, let's start. Let's get this all going here.
Control measures.
You can smell it right now.
You can smell it right here.
You can smell it right now.
That's a trifecta.
It started blowing right now. It really stinks bad.
Rudy Perez can't bear to stay in his home any longer. He's now taking the offer for an Airbnb after countless sleep.
I think we just saw a giant fly go right into the shot.
Yeah, it looked like a 747.
Nights.
Everybody here either pays their rent or pays their mortgage like everybody else. So we should be able to live like everybody else.
Martin Ramirez owns N&M Auto Body Shop, just steps from the warehouse.
I opened my business, but that's the same. The people, they don't want it to come because they don't want to be here for the smell.
Mr. Lucky's back.
He's tried getting resources from several distribution centers and keeps being turned away.
Why the people say, oh, come to this place and we want to help you, but they make it like difficult for the people.
He said
because this is what it's always, all the outreach that's supposed to help out the victims of this disaster and disasters past goes through the same nonsensical bureaucracy, handing money over to NGOs, and nobody actually gets any direct help outside of here's an air purifier for one part of your house.
Community is confused by misinformation or no information from Lineage. So far, over 900 people have filed air quality complaints.
The AQMD has a lot of authority.
The Coalition for Clean Air says the crisis is beyond a public health emergency, calling for evacuations.
People in the area with the worst odors need to be moved out. They just have to get out of that community.
Neighbors say it comes down to truth and transparency. What do you think they need to do to earn the trust of a community that has been enduring this for so long?
Not lie about it. You know, whatever you say you're going to do, do it. Don't just say it, do it.
Well, who's the liar here? Is it the warehouse that got burned down because of the solar panel farm? Or is it the mayor that said that the toxic smoke was safe and that this was going to be cleaned up in a month?
Okay, that was ridiculous. But in the mayor's defense, she was repeating what the public health director, Barbara Ferrer, was saying. Barbara Ferrer is the original source of that ridiculousness.
Yeah.
Well, it's not like she's a doctor or anything.
No, thank you.
We know at this time Lineage is facing at least 6 of those violations, with potentially more to come. Isabel Jurado, the council member for this area, says that it should not take over 900 complaints about this odor for Lineage to have to be transparent and open about what they're doing to not only help the odor, but also clear the—
What can they do? I mean, it's 85 million pounds of food.
They have to get it all out of there, but that's going to take a really long time because what are they, like 1% finished or 2% finished at this point?
I think the last check they were around 2 to 3%.
this debris in a timely fashion. She says she wants more plans open to the public as they move forward. Reporting in Boyle Heights, Hunter Sowards, CBS LA.
So there you go. That's the latest in our, we are upset that we have to keep doing this segment.
You can smell it right here.
Well, sticking with the theme, there's a community in Northern California that can do that same thing, only with their drinking water.
We're talking about St. Helena in Napa County, where a bus hit a fire hydrant And that has turned the water brown for everybody, and no one's happy. If it's brown, flush it down. For more, here is ABC 7 in the Bay.
This was pink. This one's really bad.
Ryan Crow Enos is showing us his young daughter's clothing stained by the brown water that was coming out of his St. Helena pipes on Sunday. The video doesn't do it justice, since what was white is now tinted, almost a brownish red.
Oh,
that is disgusting.
Gotta burn it.
We did a load of laundry yesterday morning, and it stained all of her clothes. You know, it's like brown, really nasty. Really.
Oh my God.
That looks like a beer.
It looks like a urine specimen.
Well, I was going with the safer for error representation, but sure.
Nasty. These are just like beyond repair, you know, which is a real loss because, you know, she's growing in and out of clothes really fast.
The good news is that Monday, the water at his home was clear again. The bad news is that many in St. Helena are still dealing with problems. I mean, check out this toilet water at the grocery.
Oh, boy. Apologies if you're eating lunch this hour.
Oh, good Lord.
Store. There have been nearly 80 complaints, according to the city. It stems from a private charter bus that hit a fire hydrant downtown on Saturday afternoon.
The bus drivers for Wine Country aren't supposed to be participating in the tastings.
Yeah, what kind of idiot who's a bus driver and supposed to be trained runs over a fire hydrant? Too bad this didn't happen in the Pacific Palisades, where we know there's no water in them.
I've never seen a fire hydrant get hit like that and just so much just of a spray of water.
Ended up losing about 4,000 gallons a minute for about 20 minutes. Through that, and with that huge rush of water into the system, it just stirred up a bunch of stuff in the pipes.
You know, it doesn't help that that official's Zoom background was a very dirty-looking lake.
That have been the center of attention here in St. Helena for years. Brownish yellow water has been a seasonal issue, and while the treatment process has been improved...
Okay, that looks like Obama's tan suit.
This is not a cheap place to live. This is the kind of water they have to deal with, and the officials keep telling them it's safe?
Looks like Flint, Michigan.
$80 million worth of projects that still have to happen long term.
I noticed that the toilet is brown, and I'm like, wait, what?
We're teaching them young.
This kid's great.
Water turned brown. So when we flush the toilet, it's still brown. Wash your hands, the water's brown, and everything.
There's no timetable on the fix.
How do you explain that one to the 9-year-old?
Well, you sit him down and you go, listen here, Billy. There's this community in California called Boyle Heights, and they have it worse than you.
You can smell it right here.
Monday, the city flushed 400,000 gallons of water through the system in an effort to fix the problem in the short term.
Hopefully this stuff settles. So that's kind of the short answer, that we're able to evacuate what we can out of the system. But ultimately, pipelines need to be cleaned or they need to be replaced.
It looks like that guy was standing in front of the big gaping hole in West Hollywood.
It has been disaster after disaster after disaster after disaster in just the last couple of weeks up and down the state of California. And apparently this is a regular thing that happens in St. Helena. So what the hell?
Where was it? We did a story that was similar to this not long ago, where the water was brown. And the public health experts came in and said, even though it's brown, it's still perfectly safe to drink. So go ahead and drink it, bathe in it, use it to cook in, enjoy it.
If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure that was St. Helena a few months ago.
I don't think the water was that brown, though. This looks like a Guinness. At what point can we have some kind of recourse against these public health officials who come out and say things that we know are not true? but they come out in the middle of a crisis when people are trying to figure out what to do. They come in with the worst advice imaginable. They wear the white lab coat. They go on TV. Everyone kisses their ass. And then they tell you to do something that's going to give you cancer.
Well, and it's another example of one of the reasons this keeps happening in St. Helena is because of the aged infrastructure. Pipes that are well past their usefulness, where the rust gets into the pipes and now the water is getting soaked into the rust. It's happening all the time. And there seems to be a complete lack of investment in re-upping our old, aged, out of service infrastructure until the worst happens. And that is just not a way to run a state.
If they were to cut off all of these organizations that profit from the bums and just take that money and spend it on new pipes, spend it on new infrastructure, you wouldn't have these problems because we waste so much money, millions and millions and millions of dollars at various levels of government on the bums. The problem just gets worse, and we're not spending the money on what we need to be spending it on, which is our old infrastructure.
We have a budget of $350 billion. We are the fourth largest economy in the world. How does it make any sense that we have any pipe in this state that is over 100 years old?
And all of these people that run the state claim to be environmentalists. Yet the Tijuana River is the most polluted river in North America. No one cares. We have an environmental disaster going on in Boyle Heights right now. And instead of getting all of them out of there, they show up and tell them, breathe in the chemical smoke. It's perfectly fine.
There is no substitute to standing here and smelling it and seeing it yourself.
And now in Napa County, the water looks like beer. It's staining everyone's clothes. And they're being told there's nothing wrong with it.
I can't wait to see what disasters we have to report on tomorrow's show, because it's something new every single day.
Could you imagine if Barbara Ferrer was on the Titanic? Right after the ship hits the iceberg and it starts to go down, everything is fine. Don't worry about it. Don't go for that lifeboat. You don't need that. Look, there's shuffleboard. It's healthy. It's the John Phillips Show.
I love my Solaire infrared grill. I miss it right now, although I'm having a lot of fun in Canada. I love cooking at home and I love being able to grill. Especially, I'm very busy these days, with doing this and everything else. It's like a 12-hour workday plus Pilates. So having a grill that heats up to 1,000 degrees in 3 minutes, that's really important. Having it where it only takes 10 minutes to do a perfect job on steaks and chicken, it makes grilling something you can do every single night. This is a high quality grill. I was so happy when I finally bought one because I immediately was like, we're going to be using this thing all the time. And my wife actually requests when we do steaks, we do them on the Solaire, even though she's an expert at doing them on the cast iron. Check it out for yourself. See if the Solaire makes sense for you. BestHotGrill.com/Randy. That's BestHotGrill.com/Randy. BestHotGrill.com/Randy.
It's the John Phillips Show. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, you can not only listen to us on the radio, but watch us on YouTube and participate in the chat. And oh my goodness, the chat is blowing up.
We're getting all kinds of comments that are making us giggle during the commercial break, so thanks so much for that. We even get comments from the other streamers as well. Here is a comment from Linda watching us on Facebook. I bet the bus driver in St. Helena was Paul Pelosi.
We love everybody.
As for all the other comments we got in the last 5 minutes, they're all way too filthy to put on the screen. Even though the YouTube broadcast is not regulated by the FCC, we still have certain standards that we try to adhere to here on the John Phillips Show, live on the radio and now live on the video at youtube.com/@RandyWangRadio.
And if your comment includes the word explosive and it's not the 4th of July, we're definitely not putting it on screen. And Randy, today is the day that the brand new episode of the Accountability Podcast is dropped.
Accountability. Last hour, we talked to Julie Watts from CBS News Investigates. We actually covered her piece about Gavin Newsom's diaper contract in Diapergate, as well as Jennifer Newsom's bizarre interview on MS Now trying to talk about the investigation into her and her husband. We cover all of it. It is a great podcast, and you should check it out at 3 o'clock right after this show, because then you'll get to check it out. The Accountability Podcast, go to youtube.com/@accountability podcast. I just put a link in the chat right now.
We have 30 more minutes to go. Don't you go anywhere. It's the John Phillips Show.
No purchase necessary to enter or win. Sweepstakes open to U.S. residents only, except New York and Florida. 18 and older. Rent 11-126. Void where prohibited. For official rules, visit CarProSweeps.com. Sponsor Acuity Marketing, Inc. DBA CarPro.
Now is one of the best times to enter to win a 26 Corvette Stingray at CarPro.com. For a limited time, qualifying entry packages receive up to 30 times the entries. Win a brand new 2026 Corvette Stingray or $40,000 cash. This special launch promotion won't last long, so don't wait. Go to CarPro.com today and get entered. Now, let's talk more about CarPro.com. Listen to this 5-star review from listener Dory from Carson about her experience with CarPro.com and Kia of Carson. Quote, the dealership should hold a master class on how to lease and sell vehicles. Everything went so smoothly, I was blown away. No haggling, no BSing. Everything was straightforward, honest, and easy. I had been to at least 6 dealerships prior that were all awful. I was so happy with Kia of Carson, I cannot recommend them enough, end quote. For the same VIP treatment and rockstar pricing, go to CarPro.com, put in all your info, or call or text Tom Haynes directly on his cell at 818-435-6797. Stop doing it the hard way. Go to CarPro.com. It's the John Phillips Show. 800-222-5222 is telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. If you're watching us live on YouTube, make sure to hit that like button. We want to get that number as high as possible. All right, let's go to the phones and welcome Mike in San Jose. Mike, hello.
Mike?
Down on water. Hello.
Hi there.
Yep. Is the connection okay now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Just wanted to call in with a quick rundown on water lines. I used to do remote camera video inspections. And a lot of them, these older ones, are ductile iron, but they get a coating of calcium. They look like barnacles on a ship. The coating is so thick. And that's what keeps them good for 75, 100 years. But when they do start to leak, they actually take redwood spikes and pound them into the holes. And when the redwood swells, that's what stops the leak. Now, you can repair these pipes by just lining them with a sleeve, but you have to go in and cut every one of those spikes. And that's why we would run cameras through them to locate every repair. But these cities don't need to dig up the whole pipe. All they do is they line them with a plastic sleeve, and it's very cost effective.
What do you make of the water in Napa County being the color of beer?
Well, see, we would use the same cameras for storm drains, sewers, and water lines, but we do a full bleach sterilization. And once we did the inspection, they would flush it just like they're doing up there, with a huge amounts of water to flush out any contaminants. The reason anyone who has galvanized pipes in their home, they're older, turn the water on, it runs brown for a little while, and then it clears up. that's what's going on, or must be what's going on up there, is you just have the corrosion, and they've stirred it up, and now they're having to wash it out. And I'm surprised that big flush that they did hasn't cleared it out yet. But what they need to do is run cameras through and take a look at the conditions of those pipes.
Do you think cities spend nearly enough on their infrastructure in California?
Oh, hell no. No, it goes to, I mean, I have friends that are still involved in the municipalities. I wish I could make as much as they do. They are set for life. It's huge union salaries and deferred maintenance. And unfortunately, they wait till these breaks happen. And water lines are not as easy to inspect as sewers and storm drainage. Actually, you don't have all the access points that you do in the wastewater systems. But it is something that they can do. And it's something maybe every 20 years you run cameras through and start documenting the maintenance needs.
All right. Thank you for the call, sir. I appreciate it. And you know, Randy, I believe every word that caller just said. And there's no place out there on planet Earth who needs a colonoscopy more than the city of L.A.
You don't want to see what kind of polyps we have.
Let's go to John in L.A. John, hello.
Hey, guys. How are you? Happy Hump Day.
Happy Hump Day to you. Happy Woo Wednesday.
Woo Wednesday. And Randy, how's it going over there in Canada?
It's great, eh?
Woo!
Love me a little Molson.
Yeah. Yeah, so you guys brought up last week Katie Porter's new venture. She's becoming apparently a book influencer. So I went on her socials to confirm it, and sure enough, her quote is, Katie Porter turns the page to discuss fiction. That's her whole thing. And the reason why she failed, in my opinion, is because she ran on this whole mantra of being an angry soccer mom. Now, that may work for her district or her former district in Orange County, Laguna Beach. Well, that's all there is soccer moms who don't do anything all day. But for people here in LA and California, like in and around, especially Koreatown area, that have to live in and around with all the homeless people, that kind of angry soccer mom stuff isn't going to run. I don't know if you guys remember a little while ago, this was about like 6 years ago, she went to Congress and she brought her whiteboard, and in her lame attempt to try to humiliate Jamie Dimon, the CEO of J.P. Morgan at the time, she just went in there. She wanted to clobber him. So I think that's how she put her name on the map, because before that, nobody knew who the hell she was. So there was a reporter that asked her, ma'am, what type of margin do you think you'll need in California to win those people that vote for Trump here in California? And it's one of the easiest questions in politics. It's actually so easy, and it actually would have benefited her. She would have answered it the right way, because this is the type of question that allows you to pivot, and it gives you the ability to redirect. You know, you can go anywhere with that question. You can answer. You could be like, yeah, well, I'm glad you brought that up. What a great looking question.
John,
Here's
can you
what
do
I
about
do. You
18
wanna
more
play
minutes? Then John and I can go to happy hour.
Now, wait a minute. I want to go back to this. I want to go back to this social media page that you looked at. Does she say what books will be included in her book group? Because I'm picturing something with Fabio on the cover.
Yeah, I didn't even bother. I probably would have yacked. I just had lunch, so I didn't even want to be grossed out. But yeah, I'm sure something like Fabio would be on there for sure.
All right. Thank you for the call. I appreciate it.
Mom.
Yeah, maybe some Danielle Steele novels.
You know, this show goes by real fast, and then all of a sudden it doesn't.
Let's go to Leslie in Thousand Oaks. Leslie, hello.
Hi, I wanted to bring up a point that's been on my mind the last couple of days. I heard that Nithya Raman had $60 million allocated for homeless program, and only 3 families were actually placed. So why can't some of that $60 million go to at least putting the people in Boyle Heights in temporary housing? Why are we giving all the money to people who want to live on the streets where you have these poor families suffering?
Well, it's even worse than that because the money that's supposed to be going to the people in Boyle Heights really isn't. It's going to the same NGOs who are claiming that they're going to use the money to help them, but the people of Boyle Heights are saying they're getting no help at all.
Yeah, I know, and it's absolutely shameful that the people who are hardworking, probably lower income citizens that are just trying to survive are living in squalor, and they're being forced to stay because they really don't have any options.
Yep. And the only thing that the government knows how to do at the city level, the county level, the state level is to continue to funnel money to these NGOs that are politically connected. They did it with the fire victims. They do it with the homeless. This is what they do over and over and over again. And it doesn't matter how much evidence is out there that these groups steal the money or waste the money or don't spend it on the right things, and the government doesn't care. Those are the groups who get the money, and I don't see them changing what they're doing anytime soon. Thank you for the call. I appreciate it. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. It's the John Phillips Show. It's the John Phillips Show. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. If you're watching us live on YouTube, hit that like button. We're just short of 200. Let's get it over 200 before we sign off at 3.
There was one guy who was about to take it away after that one call.
All right. Gavin Newsom just had a press event where he patted himself on the back for being super prepared for fires, despite the fact that in California, the Pacific Palisades burned down because the government did just about everything wrong. But Gavin doesn't want the people of Iowa to know that.
Gavin says we're spending more money on this than we ever have before, and just look at the results. For more, here is Fox 40 in Sacramento.
In other news, it's another day of summer heat. Temperatures reaching 100 degrees across much of the Sacramento region, and with that hot...
How would you like to be the West Sacramento A's?
Hotter, drier weather, well, the threat of wildfires increases. Today, Governor Gavin Newsom showed off some of the technology California is counting on to spot and fight those fires. But Republicans say the state still needs to do more. Fox 40 Capitol reporter Eitan Wallace was with the governor at McClellan Park near Sacramento and shows us what's new.
Unprecedented investments.
Governor Gavin Newsom.
It is every Gavin Newsom press you've ever heard. We've spent so much money.
That's always the metric of success for him. Not if they're fixing the problem, but how many programs have they created? How much money have they spent? How many people have they hired?
Inside a hangar at the Sacramento McClellan Air Park, where the state keeps its fleet of CAL FIRE air support. The governor showcasing some of CAL FIRE's newest assets to prepare for and fight wildfires, all as the state enters peak summer.
The impacts we're feeling and the heat.
It comes just over a year and a half since the deadly and destructive Palisades and Eaton fires, and just a few years since other deadly fires ravaged communities in Northern California.
And by the way, now that we're at the 18-month mark for the Palisades and the Eaton fire, that money that Gavin promised to the fire victims that was allocated by the legislature but then was never spent, that we found out thanks to some great reporting by Eric Leonard at NBC4, it returned to the state budget without ever going to the fire victims.
Well, and let's not forget about Fire Aid, where that money went to all of these organizations that would not even return the calls in many cases of the fire victims. When Newsom was asked about that, he goes, well, I'm not in charge of that. Don't blame me.
We believe in science, but we also believe in our own eyes. I'll continue to remind people, and not just in, folks up there in Paradise, but Grizzly Flats, Greenville.
Wait, all three of those fires were started by PG&E.
His benefactor.
Places wiped off the map, lifestyles, traditions impacted.
But the governor believes with new and improved technology, the state will better prepare for and fight fires in the future. Included, he says, drones to help map out fire zones and hotspots.
What technology do we need to tell the state parks people to stop telling the LAFD what they can and can't doze in a fire?
That's something that kind of gets lost in all of the noise. But I could make an argument that the Pacific Palisades was actually Gavin's fault. Because if the LAFD was allowed to fully extinguish that original fire, there would have been no Pacific Palisades fire. But it was Gavin and the state that stepped in and prevented them from doing that.
Shangi, you were right all along, my girl.
The bureaucracy is real.
He also discussed a plan to add C-130 aircraft to a CAL FIRE fleet that already includes 17 nighttime-capable firefighting Firehawk helicopters and other aircraft equipped with what's known as the Fire Integrated Real-Time Intelligence System, also known as FIRE.
Why does everything need to be an acronym?
Everything.
Politicians are obsessed with acronyms.
A technology designed to help generate a real-time model of fire growth. That, according to first responders, helps them determine just which resources to dedicate to any given wildfire.
Liftoff.
Newsom also notes 3 new satellites recently launched from Vandenberg Space Force Base on the Central Coast to detect fires statewide before they can grow.
All right, the firefighters have Starlink.
They're acting as if we don't know when the fires are going on. Go back to Karen Bass, who claimed that she had no clue that there was going to be heavy winds in Southern California with extreme fire risk. It was on every single news channel in Los Angeles. Radio, television, newspapers, whatever. It was everywhere. The fact that the fire was there was not a surprise. It's that the people who were in charge of fighting the fire weren't in place themselves. Well, okay, if you're Karen Bass and you know that Los Angeles was at risk of burning down and you decided to go to Ghana anyway, and the chain of command that we use to fight fires and to make sure that the city resources are communicating with one another broke down, it's not like technology is going to fix that. She wanted to go to a party, and it's as simple as that.
Well, and from the reporting that we know from CBS News' Jonathan Vigliotti, she didn't even tell anybody where she was going.
Well, absolutely.
Here on the ground, meantime, the state has more than 1,250 cameras monitoring fire-prone regions 24/7.
Real progress has been made, unprecedented investments.
We fill up that reservoir yet? Nope, we did not.
But technology has been at the forefront, and so that's what we wanted to underscore.
We're not letting our guard down. We're not making sure that we are not prepared.
As for staffing,
How
Newsom
about
says
this?
CAL FIRE now.
Remember when we passed that fire bond or the water bond many, many moons ago, and no reservoirs have been built? Not one. It was over a decade ago. How about building those so we have access to more water? How about that?
Nah.
Now has more than 11,000 personnel, double what it was some 8 years ago. Republicans, though, believe the state is not prepared. They argue the Newsom administration has not prioritized forest management enough.
Catastrophe.
Not only that, we just passed a bill in the legislature that's going to put the goat herders out of business, so we're not even going to have the goats.
Lands at the governor's feet, and he needs to stop giving us platitudes on the TV and get to work and giving us real results with policies that matter and make a difference.
Newsom acknowledges the state can do more on forest management, but he adds the federal government owns nearly 60% of the state's land area. He argues cuts from the Trump administration will only make the situation worse.
Let's go back to the last few fires that have been devastating here. You can't blame Altadena on Trump. Federal land had nothing to do with that. Pacific Palisades was city land and state land. It had nothing to do with the federal government. He's acting as if California is at fire risk because of the federal government and Donald Trump, because Donald Trump is the villain in every story that Gavin Newsom tells, even if Donald Trump has nothing to do with anything.
When that fire initially broke out in the Pacific Palisades, it was Rick Caruso who went on and said, some of that brush has been up there for 30 years.
My president is way out of his league, including on this subject.
And as we speak, there are more than 100 firefighting drones like this one positioned across the state. Meantime, Governor Newsom says 2 more C-130 airplanes will be added to the fleet by the end of the year. Reporting at McClellan Air Park near Sacramento, I'm Atal Wallace. Now back to you in the studio.
So there you go. That is the latest on what Gavin Newsom says is real progress on wildfire preparedness in the state of California.
That guy has to be on his hands and knees every single night praying that there's not another fire before he leaves office.
Listener Jay Jareth writes in, if he didn't give us platitudes, he'd have nothing to give.
And by the way, Javier Baccaria, in addition to being the luckiest guy on planet Earth in the primary, where he was last man standing, is ill-equipped to be governor. He is the heavy favorite to win, but he is totally ill-equipped to be governor. And God forbid we have a Pacific Palisades fire situation on our hands. He's going to be the man in charge. And as bad as Gavin Newsom is, Gavin's not dumb. Gavin is ambitious. Gavin, I think, at his core, probably believes in nothing. But he doesn't want to look bad on a national stage. and he knows enough how to avoid all of those things more often than not.